Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sediko Rakolote. I am the founder and the trustee of Progressive Socio-Economic Investment Institute. This is a public benefit trust established to do public benefit activities. Some of the public benefit activities include hosting webinars, focusing on various topics. Today we'll be focusing on a topic called integrated human settlement. Due to the history of South Africa, we found ourselves having settlements that are not well integrated. We still have a situation where the poor stays far away from economic activities, while the rich are closer to the economic activities. Our settlements are still based on the issue of class and race. Therefore, colleagues, we need to discuss on how can we find a way forward in terms of integrated human settlement. We are so honored today, colleagues, to have a panel of women. And before I can start, I should say Happy Women's Day, Women's Month to all the women in the webinar. I really appreciate that you have availed yourself to participate in this webinar. And amongst us, we have got a person who started her career as a community developer in an NGO and later joined the financial sector. From there, she moved to join the public sector as a skills development facilitator at the National Health Laboratory Services. She was then recruited to become a director in the office of the then Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Ms. Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. She later became the parliamentary advisor to the then President of South Africa, Mr. Kgalema Motlanthe. As we speak, colleague, she is currently the Minister of Human Settlement, and she's not just a politician, she's a scholar in her own right. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from University of Johannesburg, a postgraduate diploma in project management from Damelin College, a master's degree in public and development management from the University of Witwatersrand, and completed program for leadership development at Harvard Business School. She's currently pursuing her PhD in state-owned enterprises and corporate governance at the University of Johannesburg. We welcome you, Honorable Minister Mamoloko Gubai, and we thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time. We understand that you've got a tight schedule, and you've indicated that you'll be with us for a short time because of other engagements. Without a waste of time, I'll hand over to you just to give you opening remarks, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Sediko Rakolote, and my brother and comrade. Sometimes formality becomes difficult. Thank you very much for this platform. One does follow it. It does quite a great job in stimulating conversations, but also bringing many of us closer to where the people are, but also just to have conversations that are critical for all of us. I did indicate that I do have pressures. Unfortunately, we have one of the critical meetings this evening. Unfortunately for us, there's no Monday nor Sunday. So that's why we continue to serve. I think the topic that you have selected is quite critical, and it's one of those that assist us in terms of ensuring that we reflect on what needs to be done within the human settlement spaces, but also in terms of the future. When we look at our current cities, were developed at the time of colonialism and apartheid. As such, they were designed for the nourishment and sustenance of the minority. So you look at our cities, whether you talk about Johannesburg, you talk about Tshwane, you talk about your Nelson Mandela Bay, your eThekwini, you would see that in the manner that they've been developed. And that's why sometimes we've got to understand when we deal with the challenges that these cities are facing in terms of development and or urbanization, that they were designated or designed for a few, a minority, and therefore majority of the people were relegated to the outer skirts of our cities. Thus, our cities are specially developed to be segregated in terms of class, gender, and race. Whereas in other parts of the world, integrated human settlements are aimed at a class integration. Ours has to include, and those do not have the issues about even much of race. And ours, they segregate in terms of race, gender again. Urban populations have increased as a result of both urbanization and natural population growth. And this will continue to gather pace as urbanization becomes even more rapid. And when we look at the issue actually of urbanization, we are able to see that, for example, major population, so the migration into urban cities, urban areas, you find them that it's migration of people from rural to urban areas. And then you have migration of people, especially when we look at us in the area of our country. You find that you have people who are moving from the region in the SADC coming into our cities. So it's migration of urban from rural to urban, and then it's migration of those who are coming from the region into our country and therefore flocking our cities. And that's what we would actually, colleagues, explain the challenges that we have. Then you have the second challenge that we have in terms of the work that we have to deal with. Now, you look at the cities in terms of specialty development. Then you have the issue around as well with us. You'd find that even when you go into these areas, still because of the population, how it was designated, the provinces, how it was designated, then you find that you've got those provinces still designated in terms of even tribal lines. So that's part of the problem that we have in the country as we deal with this. So as we see this increase and becoming rapid, we are told that most of the, when you look at the studies that are out there, that by 2050, more than almost 70 and more of the population will be in the urban areas. And that talks to what we need to do within these urban areas and the interventions that we've got to be able to do. But equally, because when you look at our interventions, which is what I will come into in detail, you find that we support the cities, but then again, the growth of what we're seeing as secondary or what you call intermediate cities. You'd have the metros, for example, your Tshwane, your Johannesburg, your Mangaung, and others. And then you have your intermediary cities, what we call secondary cities, such as your Mbombela, your Polokwane, also having a difficulty in terms of migration. And most of the migration is driven by people trying to find economic opportunities. It's both economic and social opportunities, because people know that if I move closer to urban areas, the better part of my job, the opportunity for my children to get better education is higher compared to when I'm in the remote and rural areas. So it's those things that influences, again, the issue of population migration. And that's why we've got to be able to understand what drives this so that we can address it properly. Then population growth trends, however, reveal significant regional differences and increasing in spatial concentration. Thus, Gauteng has a significantly higher population growth, growing at twice the national average. The Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Mpumalanga also have population growth rates above the national average. This is where the largest cities are found as well, except for Mpumalanga. So when you look at Western Cape, you've got the city of Cape Town. You look at Gauteng, it's got 3 metros. You look at KwaZulu-Natal, it's got 1, but intermediary cities. You look at Mpumalanga, it's got 2 intermediary cities and potentially growth in others. So you've got your Mbombela and your areas around Kangala. Then you're seeing that growth with potential of your Secundas and others because of the migration trends for economic opportunities in those areas. Now, this is where you find the population growth in terms of the work. Now, when we analyze in that again, the growth then is also proportional to the growth of informal dwellings. In the country, we call them informal settlements or shacks. In others, they call them slums. Now, in our country, I always say we currently have 2,600 informal settlements and counting, because each day you are seeing informal settlements that are mushrooming. And those, because of the challenges of local government, and some are saying, no, it's the legislation, the evictions do not happen at the time that is expected. And therefore, when you look at it, then there's that growth trend. But again, when you look at even from our side, when we analyze who do we find in these informal settlements, we find that 80% even of these people whom we find in informal settlements would not be even people that qualify for free basic houses. Now, the growth of informal dwellings in big cities have also been matched, if not surpassed, by the growth in terms of secondary cities. You look at Mbombela, Rustenburg, Kimberley, and others. So if you say Nelspruit or Mbombela, you say Rustenburg, you say Kimberley, you say Polokwane. You look at their growth trend, you start to see that actually they're starting to be on par, or even, for example, Rustenburg has surpassed quite a number of our metros in terms of growth of population. As a result of high rates of unemployment, housing and services provision has not kept pace with this household formation. So this growth that we see in urban areas, or your metros and your secondary cities, together with the needs, has not been with that, and that is what we must be able to acknowledge, colleagues, is that we've not been able to respond rapidly. And it goes to what I was saying, 80% of them is not even people that qualify for free basic housing, like what we call RDPs or BNGs. Now, when we do an analysis in this area, then we find that in those 80% is people who qualify for rental, people who qualify for social housing or gap housing. Now, and these are the products, when we look in terms of our work and the allocation of budget, have not been sufficient allocated. And the partnership between us and private sector has not been sufficiently responded to. So if we look in terms of, for example, the first home financing, you find that we are providing between 3,600 and 22,000. I say 600 because 3.5 it would be household, those who qualify for RDPs. You find that when you look into that analysis, you find that between that 3.6 and 22,000, it's what we are subsidizing. But then the banks, in terms of offering of a loan, for example, home loan, they will start at 27,000. So there is a missing middle. We've tried to close, but the gap keeps on opening. Now, that's where the crisis that currently we are sitting with, both in terms of those who are low income earners, but also those who do not have any form of being covered in terms of accommodation, or what we call shelter, whether in terms of the loan that they need to be getting, in terms of ownership of a property, even those that are supposed to be supported by us because of the limited resources. Now, the question is, how do we close the gap and ensure that we can be able to address this? And I'll come to that again in detail in terms of our vision going forward. But part of what we wanted to do, or what we want to do, for example, in closing the apartheid special development planning, is that you need access to land. Now, in the cities that we have, there is a difficulty of access to land. Now, that's why you'd find, and if you read a Human Research Science Council report on social housing, they then accuse us as human settlements, and correctly so, that instead of us, because the intention of social housing was that we're bringing people closer to cities, inside the cities, so that we can be able to develop, then we are finding them actually, as we speak, more and more building them outside or on the outer skirts. Now, the challenge then becomes, if we look at that, is that because of land availability, we are not able to. So we continue, and they're saying that in that research, we continue to perpetuate the apartheid special planning. Now, the more issue and critical issue is the land. And that's why government took a decision to say, all the land that is owned by government needs to be checked if it's suitable for human settlement and be made available for human settlements, so that we can build for people closer to the cities. Now, again, when we look at that, that's why one of the plans that we have going forward, and I don't want to monopolize the platform, But noting that I would be gone, I thought I should share quite a number of these issues, as I apologize. One of the issues that we want to do as human settlements is to get into the cities, convert these buildings that we have in the cities, whether it's former buildings that were owned by for office space, redesign them and redevelop them so that they become apartments, especially for a younger generation to be able to live in. And this is one of the models that we want to utilize through our government employee scheme implementation program that we have been given the responsibility to lead as human settlement, so that workers, especially government workers, we start with them, they are closer to where they work, they are closer to the departments. And what will that mean? That will mean that they will reduce the amount of money that they are spending in terms of traveling. And this, colleagues, because if we look the analysis that 70% of household income is spent on transport. And that's why the importance of closing this gap in terms of us being able to respond to the issue. So that's one of the issues that we're looking at. Again, I spoke about the issue of land acquisition to be able to respond to that. But noting that some of the areas where people have been able to settle themselves in terms of informal settlements, some of the land parcels are now evaluated and looked into and are deemed to be suitable for human settlements. And what we are doing as a program then is to do an informal settlement upgrading program, where we go in firstly as an initial service. We provide temporary water and sanitation. And then later, once it's formalized, then we upgrade it in terms of making sure that we put permanent services such as bulk water, bulk infrastructure, water, electricity, and sanitation and roads, and then later build for those that qualify. But going forward, one of the things that is critical for us is that in order to manage these limited resources, we do believe releasing of service sites in majority to many people will assist, so that if I have a site that has water, electricity, and sanitation, I can, as a start, put a 2-room, later expand it to the level that I can afford. And that will make sure that we put people in formalized areas, but where the services are, and also give them actually the dignity back, especially those who are deserving. But we've got to consistently remember that the constitutional obligation says to the most vulnerable, for example, people with disability, child-headed households, and the senior citizens, we have an obligation to provide a shelter. And that's why we'll have to be able to provide a shelter. But if we look at many of what can we learn from other countries, I just thought one of the areas to be able to learn, for example, China has been able to build 600 cities since 1949. Now, this is what you do as you cater for new cities. Part of the conversation I have with my team and everybody within the sector said, can't we create new cities? Can't we create new towns? For example, we have an opportunity, and I hope it will be supported, where we want to go and support the Namakwa SEZ and build a green city. There is a pipeline in terms of hydrogen there. We can even decide to say anything that we build there won't be brick and mortar, but will be green in terms of responding to the climate environment, and therefore create new cities. Because if we do not, we'll continue to see the congestion in the current cities, and it will be unsustainable. Another example is Egypt. When we look at Egypt, Egypt has now built just a new city. They call it a new city, new administrative capital, approximately 45 kilometers east of Cairo, just in a desert. Now, when you look at that, you see that there is potential for us to do quite different things, conceptualize differently, but be able to be innovative and respond to the challenges. So I've tried to sort of highlight some of the challenges that we have, and quickly just to say, these are the things that we are able to do. I had hoped that as Sediko, I'll sit through so that we can engage, answer questions. Unfortunately, I have an urgent meeting that I'm going to have to get into. And really appreciate this opportunity to be able to have a conversation, because there's quite a lot that we can do. The gated communities that we regulate ourselves. This week, CISOs had an Indaba where they were talking, and part of the issue there is transformation, because some of these gated communities are not welcoming to majority in terms of cultures, religious background. So Human settlements and integrated spaces must speak to our cultures, must speak to our religious background. Thank you very much for this opportunity for engaging, and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Minister. Definitely we'll invite you again when you've got time to come and engage. And we really appreciate that you took time today, despite your hectic schedule, to come and engage us. You indicated that there are challenges in terms of the congestion into the current cities. There's a lack of land, and also we are still having challenges of transformation because of colonialism and apartheid. Our human settlements are still characterized by race, class, and gender. Thank you so much for highlighting that, Honorable Minister. Colleagues, we have to release the minister, and we commit from our side that we are going to reschedule and she'll be invited, but those who are remaining will continue engaging. If you look at the National Development Plan, it indicates that by 2050, South Africa will no longer have poverty traps in rural areas and urban township. Workers will no longer be isolated in the periphery of the cities. The inner cities will be controlled by slum lords and crime. There'll be decaying infrastructure with poor blackouts. But also there are some plans to say, what do we do to achieve the vision of South Africa, which is by 2030, South Africans will have affordable access to services and quality environment, which includes human settlement. The plan is to ensure that will require capacity in terms of the individual capacity, institutional capacity, and capacity in terms of the environment. Will also require practitioners within the space of human settlement, so that we can achieve this vision of having an affordable access, services and quality environment within the human settlement space. We have invited practitioners who are within the human settlement space to share with us their successes, their challenges, and their proposal in terms of what can we do to achieve this 2030 vision. Without a waste of time, I'll call Rivona Bota, who will introduce herself and tell us her successes, challenges, and proposal in terms of the human settlement space. Thank you so much, Rivona. Over to you.
Thank you, Sediko. Can I put my presentation up, or should I just talk to it? Can you see my presentation, Sediko?
Yes, I can see the presentation.
Okay. Good night, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be engaging in this event this evening. And I was really surprised what the minister was saying, and I would love, maybe through you, Sediko, to translate this message to the minister, to tell her that we as women are ready to take on any challenge there is. Human settlements is very close to women's heart, because we are living in, as mothers, we are the ones who spend more time with our children, with our homes and all that. So human settlements is very close. We've got engineers. Over these years, we've grown in so much, but only we don't get opportunities. And I would love to present this presentation to the attendees and to everyone who's listening in tonight. The topic, which is integrated human settlements, leaving no one and no place behind. And I'm glad this evening that you invited me. I'm an engineer who's 33 years in engineering. I'm duly registered as a professional with the SCCPMC, a project construction manager, and a professional technical engineer. And then I've got 33 years experience in engineering and construction. I worked for Eskom, for Spoornet 8 years, Eskom 11 years, and for the private sector, I'm 14 years now in the private sector. And my competencies involve electrical engineering, engineering and construction, civil construction, energy management, and my heart lies with development of SMMEs, mentoring, coaching, development of courseware and facilitation of women in construction. And tonight I can share with the audience that seeing that our topic is integrated human settlements, national priority is to integrate communities and push for transformation in South Africa. And that transformation is key to women empowerment. Why I lay emphasis on women empowerment is that we find that majority of women sometimes are single. They left on their own as divorces. They're getting children from men that cannot, look after them. But if you empower a woman, you empower a nation. And I think that if we can start with transformation so that we can keep women in these rural areas, in the remote areas, we can keep them to empower themselves and stay in these areas. We just heard the ministers spoke about transforming informal settlements, and we can start with women, because it's the woman that needs to translate this to the communities, translate this to the children, translate them. And so we need awareness and education to tell them these cities that look so ugly can be transformed into beautiful cities. And the other thing is that we have the skills within the woman. Over 30 years since apartheid, we developed in the democracy, we developed skills, and we have the skills. It's just for us women to have a platform so that we can engage more effectively. And also looking at human settlements, settlements types, we call it formal urban areas, commercial farms, tribal areas, and rural informal settlements. That's where we find women. Women made up a huge percentage of the population of South Africa. And the word integrate just came to me very strongly to say, what are we integrating? We have government who's been planning all along so that they can empower women through the industry and the infrastructure, built environment, but we lack implementation. We just heard the minister spoke about that link, that gap that needs to be filled. We need to close the infrastructure gap. And if I say that, it's women empowerment. Now, if the minister spoke about these challenges of transformed cities, land acquisition, then we look at implementation. We need that link that can link women to these opportunities within these challenges, because a challenge is where we want solutions, we want opportunities, and women can strongly come forward. In terms of planning, we will then ask, what are we planning for? Why, when, where, who, and how are we going to achieve this? But in terms of implementation for women empowerment, to be involved in this, to take a market share in this challenges that's been facing the country, we're saying create an enabling environment, a nurturing hub. And we, you know, why I'm putting emphasis on human settlements, because building a house is not so difficult as building a substation. I'm in the electrical engineering space. When building substations and lines is a more complex situation. But if we start with human settlements and we upgrade women from CIDB level 1 up to CIDB level 6 or wherever they can reach, and give them huge numbers to build houses so they can be part of this new expectations from society. And then adequate development programs. I stress this thing of adequate development programs, not just fly-by-nights, not just things that a community is sitting and think that let's engage the communities, you know, let them come up with innovative things so that we can customize and adequately develop programs so that they can be part of this development programs. And then the link opportunities. We need to fix our education. We can use benchmark. The woman coming from high-level education institutions use benchmark, but there's also RPL, recognition of prior learning. We can engage the woman. We can analyze what they lack, and we can assist them. Professionalism, accreditation, and certification. We can assist women to participate effectively in the infrastructure built environment for growth and sustainability. Because once you grow from CIDB 1 to CIDB 6, and then you can register with the institutions that you can register so that you can actively participate in the industry. Then my next slide, I would love to share with the attendees, the meeting attendees, one tale of Ravona Ellis Botha. I've seen that we have, our next speaker will be Nomvula Rakolote. Nomvula has been a support to me in my individual career. I meet her at the point of giving up. She was the CEO of the registrar of SACPMC, and I came there and gave her all my issues in the built environment, because we've got, as women, we've got a lot of issues in the built environment. If we don't have the right support, people are pushing us out. But she was one of those leaders who took accountability to take me through, to help me. For the last 10 years, she's been in my life, and she's assisting me and helping me through my career path. So that's the link that we need. That's the support that we need in terms of developing our career paths. And now she's the CEO of ACPM. And now she also enabled me to do this presentation to you, because if it was not through her, then I would not have done this tonight. But through her support, she takes responsibility in terms of growing me. And I think we need role models as Nomvula. Nomvula is not technical. She's non-technical, but she takes accountability and leadership in terms of mentoring and coaching a technical and support a technical person such as me as an engineer. Sometimes we need the commercial institutes to assist us so that we can grow in this. I'm just duly registered as a PRCPM technician, and then the spiral effect that Nomvula had on my life, the impact, this program that she took on with me, the PDP personal development program that she took on with me, the impact she had with me, she selflessly created an enabling environment to empower a single woman, and in turn enable me to empower other women. One of the things that she has done, supported Ravona Ellis with professional registration via RPL. If you one day sit with me and I can tell you our path that I walked with her, or she walked with me to get professional registration with the SACPMC. And then the other thing is that profession, that day that I met her, enable access to the university, because then I met other people that she invited to the meeting in terms of her introduction. And I start my master's in engineering via RPL, recognition of prior learning. I never knew these things could happen, but these things are happening, and the woman doesn't know about it. And then she enabled job opportunities for me, connect me with institutions like the Gibbs University of Pretoria, Gordon Institute of Business Science. I mean, just RPL, I don't have a degree, I don't have nothing. And here she comes and connect me, close that gap and close that link that I needed so badly. And I've been running this course, develop courseware, and facilitate for 120 women across 9 regions of South Africa. This was 2016, 2017. Another opportunity that she enabled me in terms of the Council of Built Environment, I've ran the structured candidacy program. I was a mentor and a coach. And then there was the Department of Public Works, all through Nomvula. Just that link that one needs. And then there I've been promoted now from project manager to a chief construction project manager, and then enable me another opportunity with Gibbs, where I became a mentor and a coach for SMMEs in 2021. And today's presentation also, she enabled me to participate in this as a speaker. Then I, Ravona Botha, am a three times award winner for women in construction. 2017, I won 2 awards. In 2020, I won the Eric Award, the Contract of the Year. And that in turn, can I speak of the spiral effect of Nomvula's support towards Ravona Botha, that she enabled me to translate my skills to other women. And just 2 weeks ago, and I shared this with her, that another lady in 2022, she won the Women's Contractor Excellent Project Delivery of the Year with the Eric Awards. So can you see, guys, we need sorry, colleagues, we need that support, we need that link, we need that access. And I'm saying, Sediko, if you can do something for us, you can tell the minister we need to be selflessly ensure other women are equipped to effectively participate in the built environment industry. And we hope that the minister will come through for us and build a home for us as women, a nurturing hub where we belong. And so said, I know since my 33 years experience that I can share with women, that women needs immediate women empowerment programs, which are construction business, because our construction environment is a highly regulated framework, and we need to, a highly regulated industry. We need to know about the frameworks in the different sphere of departments so that we can comply on the and how we should comply. Issues around construction compliance, systems and operations management for construction, construction and project management for construction. Those are the understanding the project life cycles, and then contracts, what kind of contracts are they, and then construction and commissioning activities, how are women engaging in this? And I'm leaving it up to you, Sediko, that you might relate this to the minister to say, we want to effectively participate in our programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Revona. I know I'm not empowered to speak on behalf of the minister, but I can speak on behalf of Progressive Socio-Economic Investment Institute. We will reschedule a session again with the minister where, Revona, you'll tell the minister right on her face that you want this. We can commit for that. That will reschedule another session where you will tell the minister that you need her support. Thank you so much for your presentation. We really appreciate, and hearing your story that you have supported over 120 women in 9 regions of the country. You have moved from various levels in terms of your qualification. We really appreciate your good story. Without a waste of time, I'll call the next speaker. She's a CEO of Ndione Holdings. She'll introduce herself, share with you her successes and challenges and proposals in terms of the human settlement space. Over to you, CEO Ndione. And Revona, you can remove your sharing screen.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ndione. Am I okay? Am I visible? Okay, there we are.
Yeah,
okay, can you can see me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rakolot. My name is Ndione Nebutaru. I am the owner of Ndione Holdings. It's a construction company that I'm currently building houses in the Northwest Province. The topic that you gave was, the issue that you said we must talk about today, which is challenges and the successes of what one finds on the ground when we go to site. Where do I start? I wished, obviously I'm going to echo what Revona spoke about, that I would have wished that the minister is present in this meeting. Even though the minister isn't present, I hope somebody from from her office is probably present so that maybe they can give a feedback, so that even if we're going to reschedule the meeting, then she can then be giving us feedback based on what we are going to raise today. My story is, I'm not going to be talking about my personal journey personally. I'm just going to try to generalize and speak overall about women as we are in the August month, that we are talking about projects and work that is being given to women in this current year of 2023. My take is the fact that we would, as women, we would like for the department to support women contractors. We applaud the fact that they are giving us work. There are those that are getting work. Not everybody's getting work, but for those that are getting work, we applaud the department that they are trying to give us work. We would want to actually plea with the department that the department can implement the 40% rule that has been brought down by the president, that if each department can give out 40% of work to the women that will actually emancipate a lot of women, empower a lot of women, and a lot of, because they say if you empower one woman, then a household is kept, is well taken care of. And obviously it's not just gonna be one household that will be taken care of by one woman that is catered for, because when we go to site, we definitely take women to come and help us with the construction or with the work that we need to do on the site. So already when you empower one woman, there is a lot of other women that are getting empowered or that are getting assistance from the same contractor that you would have given. What I would like for the department to help us with is the fact that after you've been given work, it would be very much appreciated, or what we like is the fact that they don't really support us. They would give us work to say, you can go on site to go and work. But when you get to sites, you get the fact that there's not been proper planning that has been done in any of the projects that you would have given, that you would have been awarded. And with not proper planning, it always hinders or it delays the construction work, because you need to try and sum up all the work that needs to be done on the initial stages before the contract has been awarded to a contractor. And if that due diligence or due planning is not done before before a contractor is awarded, it delays the whole process of how one can then be able to implement the project when they get to site. When it comes to the side of payments, they always say, previously they were saying payments must take about 30 days at most, but we have payments that are standing for more than 6 months that are still not paid. And you expect a person to keep going back to site, whereas there's money that is still outstanding. How do you now go back to your creditors to go and get material, whereas you still have money that you've not paid them? They will obviously not give you the material that you need for you to be able to complete the project in due time, because obviously once you've been appointed, there is a time stipulated. You give them your project milestones as to how are you going to be claiming and when are you going to be finishing with your project. But when there is delays when it comes to payments, that just hinders or delays the whole process to make one to be able to complete the project in the stipulated time that one would have stipulated at the beginning or at the commencement of the project. And another thing you said, we must talk about some ideas as to how we can try to assist the department. In my case, because we are in this case, we're talking about the Department of Human Settlements. After you've been awarded a project, you are then requested to go and look for beneficiaries as the contractor. That process alone, it takes so long, because there's a backlog when you go back to the department to take back your forms that you would have gone house to house in the in the village or in the township that you're going to be working in. It takes so long. And when you are the one who is doing that beneficiary assignment, the problem is you don't even know who is who in the village. The people, the councillors and the people that will be giving you those people, they will only give you people that are close to them, friends, families, for you to start or prioritize with those ones. And that does not really help with the demand that is on the ground. Whereas if it's the department that goes to the ground and then sees and actually probably get everybody to fill in the forms, then we see who qualifies, who does not qualify. In that case, it will really help, because then even when they award a project, they will know as to how many houses are needed in which village or in which township. But when it's, that prerogative is given to the contractor, there is a lot of, I don't know how to say it, but it can be done better if it's done by the department and not by the contractor. So that is one of the suggestions that I would give to the department. I hope that whatever that we're talking about here will get to the people up there. I don't know where up, but yeah, somewhere there. And as I was saying, that I'm going to echo what Rivoina was saying, is that as a woman contractor, when you get to sites, the same treatment that is being given to our male counterparts does not apply to us. the male counterparts are mostly helped much quicker. And I don't know whether because we are working in a male-dominated industry that the men tend to help more men quicker than with us. They delay. You have to be following them, calling them in and out, I mean, day in, day out. That's exhausting. We want to work. We really want to work. The whole reason for us to try and be in the, for us to be in this sector is the fact that we want to see this this industry grow, for us to also nurture our kids. I'm a girl mother of 3 kids. All my kids, all my kids, they see me going in and out on a daily basis. But when I am not bringing anything, every day I'm telling them, no, but mommy's working on this, but there's nothing to show for it, that there's anything that I'm working on. It's like whatever that that I say to them that this is what we're doing, but nothing, you don't reap any rewards out of you going in and out of the house on a daily basis. I would really like and plead with the department to say, can they please come to the party when we ask them to? Because when we speak to them, when you try to engage them, it's very difficult to try and get them to sit down with you and to listen to what you are really faced with on the ground. If only they can give us that platform to say they are willing to listen to what we are saying, or to the pleas that we have as women contractors, that will really go a long way. I think I'm gonna pause the record.
Thank you so much, Ndione. One of the challenges that I've captured is the delaying of the payments, whereby sometimes it takes over 6 months, people not being paid. You have to go around, look for beneficiaries, while your expertise is around building, not looking for beneficiaries. In our platform, I saw some government officials from all levels. Some are at local level, some at provincial level, some are at national level. In fact, some of them are councillors, but I'll never mention their names. I know them, and I can commit also again to you, Ndione, that before midnight, the minister will get this message, and we will clearly reconvene and discuss this matter. So she'll get the message. Yeah, she'll get the message.
Can I just round up with? I just forgot one pointer that I wanted to bring across. Can I relay it?
Yeah, you can. Feel free, you can.
Okay. Okay. As we are all aware, there was when you're working with at the Department of Human Settlements, there's different. There's always a quantum as to how much you're going to be working with. There is a challenge of contractors that have, that were awarded projects, say in 2019, 2018, prior to COVID. And we are all aware that after COVID, the material has gone ridiculously high or crazy high. Obviously, not even going to the steel part or to going to building material. If you just look at the bread, the price that we used to buy bread for before COVID, the price has drastically increased since then. What I would like to plead with the department is also the fact that they also try to look at increasing the quantum for people who were awarded work in 2019, but the work could not be finished due to COVID, due to now they're submitting proposals to get enough money to be able to complete the work that they were awarded probably 5 years ago. And now in 2023, you are still expected to work with the same quantum of 116, which was in 2019. And by now, 116,000 per house, you would not even be able to finish the house, let alone make any profit. That's just basic housing. You will not even be able to do anything with 116. So if in the things that we're going to be submitting to the minister, that can be one of the pointers. I know they always say that policy is not applied retrospectively, but I don't know how, because now we all didn't anticipate COVID. We all didn't know that there was something called COVID that will hit us in 2020. But so that it happened, now we have to try and find a way to ensure that the people that were awarded work then, they are still able to complete the work that they were awarded then, since now they are still having the same projects running. I think, yeah, that is some of the challenges that I know that some of the women are encountering. Not me personally, but I know some of the women because I sit in many boards that has a lot of women in it. I mean, in them. So I know those are some of the challenges that they are facing. So it would be very important or very well appreciated if we can bring something like that forward to the minister.
Definitely we'll relay the message to the minister. And like I said, we'll reconvene. She has to come and hear this story herself. Yeah. So that she can hear this story herself. Thank you so much, Leone, for your presentation. Please, colleagues, we'll give you a chance, colleagues, at the end to ask some questions and make some inputs. For now, we're just taking speakers, but at the end, we'll allow all of us who are here, who wants to raise some comments, who wants to give some inputs or questions to do so. Within the human settlement space also, there's an area of skills development so that we can professionalize the sector. I will be calling two presenters at the same time. One is a senior lecturer and an HOD of the Department of Building and Human Settlement Development at Nelson Mandela University. She's very passionate about human settlement development, women in construction, mass timber construction, safety and sustainable construction. She serves as a project manager on mass timber research project at Nelson Mandela University. Again, the other speaker is the CEO of Association of Construction Project Manager. She's an adjunct professor in built environment at the Central University of Technology in Free State. She's a former registrar of the South African Council for the Project and Construction Management Professions. I hand over to you both speakers. You'll introduce yourself and present. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Sediko. Good evening to everyone that has joined. So I will start with the presentation and then Ayesu will take over. And then before I even start, thank you very much, Rivona, for all that you've said. We never get to hear these things whilst we are alive. We just but doing our jobs that we are passionate about. And then I will speak broadly in terms of the infrastructure and human settlement landscape, because I'm currently now the CEO of the Association of Construction Project Managers. So I would just like to give an organizational context and some of the things that you have raised, I think I will also touch upon to say how they can get resolved if you look at the value chain, because some of the things that you've raised is not things that you are supposed to deal with, because there's a whole value chain when it comes to the infrastructure landscape. So I would not, because it's a Sunday evening, I would not go through all of this, but I just want to give you an organizational context of the Association of Construction Project Managers. So within the built environment, meaning the consultant space, we have what we call the Council of the Built Environment, which is a statutory body of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And under that, there are 6 other councils. I've seen a comment on engineers like now in the chat box. So you've got the engineers, you've got the architects, quantity surveyors, property valuers, landscape architects, and you've got the project and construction managers. So the Association of Construction Project Managers, it's a voluntary association of this regulatory body, which happens to be my former employer. Now, also within the private sector, because the Association of Construction Project Management is purely your private sector. So within that, we have an affiliation with other constituent bodies. We're talking JBCC, Rivona touched on the contracts. We are talking PROSCA, we're talking Property Owners Association, and we've got the Construction Alliance South Africa. So the context that I'm painting here is on the consultancy side, but you would note that when it comes to the contractor, when it comes to human settlement, there's other departments together with their agencies. So I tried to look at this broadly, but just going into the corporate members that are registered under the voluntary association. Here we are talking the project management consulting firms, whom on the value chain we talk about as the principal agent. So they are responsible to facilitate the overall project scope, meaning from start to finish, so that by the time that you come in, that planning that you were just mentioning now, all of that is done. So just to give an example of the kind of areas in which they work in retail, commercial, institution, education, health, residential, industrial. And then they also work outside of the borders of South Africa. And their skill set is project management, construction project management, property development, tenant coordination, and turnkey projects. So here I am showing this picture so that we can just understand the interface when it comes to the human settlement landscape. And the typical projects that they worked on is commercial, retail, airports, education, healthcare, industrial, residential, and urban, which is what the minister mentioned, mixed use, fit outs, which is cross-cutting, cultural and historical sites. And this is where the interface comes in. Now, just to look at the construction project managers or these consulting firms, who they are holistically. Obviously, this was a picture before COVID when things were still looking good. So we talk about the ABCs of the ACPM. So I've already mentioned the A in terms of the areas in which they work in. This was taken between 2017, 2018, 2019. And at that time, the combined projects, and I think this is where the whole issue of women and transformation comes in, because I'm talking about 22 projects in South Africa only. And in those 22 projects, only one, companies, only one is woman owned, and it's struggling a bit, but there has been kind of support for that one. So all of these ones are actually owned by men. So when you look at the projects that they were busy with, that is the 22 and the 461 non-corporates within the whole of Africa. At the time, we were talking about over 300 billion value of projects at design stage, over 50 billion value of projects under construction, but obviously completed as we're speaking now, and then over 3 million square meters of projects managed. And then going further now, that was just a background, but obviously I wouldn't go through unpacking the whole thing. But what I've looked at, when you look at the infrastructure landscape, it becomes difficult for women especially to know how to navigate the landscape. And I think what I would advise, in order for you to be able to navigate the landscape, first of all, it is very much important to understand the area in which you operate. So if you look at the infrastructure landscape, you've got transport, you've got energy, water infrastructure, healthcare, educational, and these are examples to say what falls under each. And we all know that these are mandates of the various departments. And the list goes on. Is human settlement. The minister mentioned the whole issues of sanitation, electricity, and so on, the challenges that she mentioned within the human settlement. There's public facilities, there's waste management in which people don't go into, there's disaster management, there's telecommunications. I am painting this picture to say it is not only about building. It's quite huge, but you need to understand the area in which you operate. And the reason why I'm also showing this, it then also makes it easy for you to know how to diversify. Then when we look at the human settlement landscape classification, I am doing this so that you just understand the interface between the two. We have the urban areas, the minister talked about that. We have the informal settlements, rural settlement, residential zones. And I am talking about this because we usually think that human settlement is only the informal settlement. If you look at the residential zones, she also talked about the gated communities, the residential types, the housing estate, retirement villages, which is examples. Now, if you look at where the people that we are registering or the companies that we are registering, which is not contractors, the contractors get registered with the CIDP. So when you look on the consulting side, and I've mentioned the type of projects that they work with, I talked about mixed use. This is where now you find some of the residential zones in terms of the overall work that they do. And then it continues. You've got your industrial zones, you've got your commercial areas, tourism zone, and others, whether it is the mixed-use development, the eco-housing, sustainable developments, and so on. So this is just a breakdown for those that are still new and are pursuing their journey in either becoming consultants, contractors in the space, or are still students, and maybe those that do not know how to transition from the one area to the other. I was just giving that overview, like broadly, for you to understand. And the reason why I am sharing this, what I've noticed is that sometimes when people enter into the infrastructure place, they want to do everything. They don't even exhaust what is available within the space in which they've been. Now, Sediko asked me as well to look at issues of saying what is the solution if these are some of the the problems that we are having. So the important thing, and Dihona, I think you touched on that, is that various stakeholders play an essential role in the planning, funding, designing, construction, and maintaining, meaning it's a value chain. There's different responsibilities. And if that is not worked out well, there's these challenges that we will face. And here I just give a picture of key stakeholders. And please note that the key stakeholders that I have mentioned here, they cut across. So they will not necessarily at all times be applicable to your space at one time. But I think I'm showing the picture so that it becomes important for you to know, where to go to. If we look at the one at the bottom, public-private partnership, I think the minister indicated to say there is a challenge when it comes to this. And also the private sector will be saying, we want to collaborate, but we do not know where to go. We do not know how to start. So perhaps that is one of the areas in which we can look at closing the gap. If you are in this space, it is important to know your local communities, the stakeholders, the business forums in the area. It is important to know the industry bodies, because Ravona also talked about the industry bodies that are there for women. I know there's the SAWIC, there's the property network, there's all of these different networks depending on the area in which you operate, meaning where you are in the value chain. There's private sector companies and contractors, where we're looking at engineering firms, architectural project management, housing developers. And also when you look at government and public agencies meaning which other governmental agencies do you need to be affiliated to? I made an example of now to say CIDP, and I've given you the organizational context of the ACPM, which is Association of Construction Project Managers, meaning when you look at government and public entities, we fall under the Council of the Built Environment, which then is directly linked to the South African Council for the Project and Construction Managers. That is where we are a VA, a voluntary association, meaning we have accreditation with the regulatory body. And another important thing as well is to know the consultants and advisors. And then there's also investors and funders. Quite a lot of them, they would say that they are looking for people to fund. And on the other side, we have people in the value chain that are saying they are looking for funders. You just need to know where to find this. So when you look at this key stakeholder, it all depends where you are in the value chain. But what I would advise, this is the important place to start. Do your own mapping to say who are the people. I have not even gone to who the suppliers are, which was one of the things that you mentioned, Dihone. And then the skills development. Now coming to the topic that I was given, one of the important things that I would say I've noticed is that, number one, if you look at the landscape itself, so I'm giving an example here and an advice to women to say, in terms of the skill development areas, which I think Ravona touched upon, at business level, it is important for you to know and be adequately equipped in terms of business and financial acumen. I'm not saying become an accountant, leave the expertise to the experts, but the basic things like reading the financial statements and so on. Then at business and individual level, know the regulatory compliance. And I think Ravona touched quite a lot on that. And then at individual level, you might be having the technical skills, but you also need to know which soft skills to equip yourself with. The first place to start, if you are wondering when it comes to soft skills, number one, government is now talking about professionalization of the state. And if you read that document, you will see the soft skills that they have mentioned. Some of the universities are already starting to incorporate that. And the second place to start is because of technological advancements. It does not mean that technology is going to replace the work that we are doing, but it's going to mean that at interpersonal level, we need to step up. Also look at the document that says, what are the 10 soft skills that are needed 10 years to come in order to navigate the technological world? So that is what becomes important. And then the commercial frameworks, you can't go wrong there. In terms of the commercial frameworks, you will even know within the construction sector, there are contracts within the construction sectors, the FIDIC, the NEC, the JBCC, they will tell you in terms of how to navigate and how to handle your programs themselves. Now, this is another generic one. When it comes to skills development, there's all of the things that I've mentioned, the commercial frameworks, the regulatory, technological advancements, project management, which you need yourself, Dihone, for example, in your area. Sustainability practices, there's market research and all of that. But then if you are wondering, how do I get all of this? There's short courses. There's what we call CPD activities, which is continuing professional development. There's workshops that can be attended, seminars like this, webinars, self-study, higher certificates, undergraduate and postgraduate, which is what Emma is going to speak about. And then, Sediko, if we're talking leaving no one and no place behind, what I've seen in the years that I've been in the industry is that there's existing occupations within the infrastructure landscape and the human settlement landscape. However, if they are not regulated, or if they do not belong to a regulatory council, meaning that there is no professional recognition by a regulatory body, somehow they tend to fall between the cracks. So one example that we had was when we did the professionalization of construction health and safety. We had all of these different departmental governments coming together. We had the Department of Labor, which was responsible for the construction regulations. And they say that you will not be able to build or to start any work unless you have a permit. And who must issue a permit, or who must make sure that there is a permit, is a construction health and safety person. And those occupations were previously not recognized within the regulatory bodies, but those have now been, but those are now regulated. And then added to that, in order to make sure that we allow new entrants, you need universities, you need the training providers that will be able to adequately equip people. And then again, you need public and private sector employers and also voluntary associations. So when you just look at what I've shown there, it is really an integration or a working together of all of these various departments, meaning both the public, academia, and also the private. Because when the Department of Labor had construction regulations, those regulations, there was a certain need. And when you had people that had to issue the permit, people started to ask, what are their competencies in order to be able to do that? So that is why then they had to be regulated. And that is one of the programs that we have done with the former employer. Now, another one that we've also done with my former employer was that now touches on the human settlement aspects. We all know there's always been building inspectors. But the thing that comes with professionalization is that you kind of standardize where you are able to say, this is the standard of service that I'm expecting from this person, be it building inspector, engineer, and so on. And then these are the deliverables, meaning at least you've got recourse, you know that this is what the person is supposed to do, and then these are the deliverables, which is just a guide, because we know that, you know, the environment that we live in is quite dynamic. So this is one other success story of what was done with human settlement, with the NHBRC at the time, with my former employer and my current employer, which is the Central University of Technology. So if at all we start to say we are recognizing existing occupations, meaning there are people that are doing work. If we start to regulate that and we do not introduce qualification, then it means there will not be any new entrants. And that is how we are going to leave others behind. So in everything that you do, you then need the new entrants into that space. So this is one of the success stories. Now, as I round off, I'm going to talk about good stories. And I think I just also want to show the interface between your consultants and or your contractors and the full value chain. Now, one project that we did as the Association of Construction Project Managers, it was during COVID. We heard the minister saying that government does not have the technical capacity to quickly do the assessment of quarantine sites. And we put up the hand as the association. And between 10 and 17, which is most probably 13 days, including weekends, 16 companies of the Association of Construction Project Managers assessed 133 sites. And in those the 133 sites that they assessed, they did a conditions assessment, they took photographs, they also did drawings to say, how can we repurpose that for alternate use? I was happy when the minister mentioned to say that that is a big project that they are looking at. And through you, Sediko, we are putting our hand up as the Association of Construction Project Managers to say we were able to assess 133 sites, 16 companies in a week at no cost to government. It was our own patriotic initiative. And the type of sites that were assessed, as you will see, it's your national parks, your lodges, government facilities, community centers, libraries. And I'm mentioning these deliberately to show that it then cuts across into the human settlement area. So this is what what is this now? The consultants were able to do, obviously then together with the contractors. So they had put up a whole schedule for government, even costed it, even time frames to say, if you need to repurpose the site, here's the assessment, this is what can be done quickly. So that is just one example. Now, I've seen a comment in the chat that talks about we are engineering students, we also need help. One other program that the ACPM has done, it was during COVID. You know that for those that are in construction project management, you cannot graduate unless you've got work integrated learning, meaning you've got exposure into the construction industry. But everything was closed. So where were these students going to get the practical skills in order to be able to graduate? So we did that program during COVID with 7 universities. And when we did it with those universities, we had to do it through technology. So technology really came through for us. And the students were able to graduate. Now, this is where one example of a pilot that we continued with at the university where I am teaching, and we are continuing with that exposure of making sure that the youth also get that exposure. And this is anyway part of their full qualification. So if we say leaving no one behind, we must also think about the new entrants. And those are just the numbers up until 2022 of the graduates. It's a program that needs money. It can be replicated in the human settlement space. And another thing that was done, the minister talked about public-private partnerships. Together with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, we did an assessment to say, what are the skills that are needed to professionalize, especially public works, if we look within the infrastructure landscape. And it's an ongoing program that we are having. But between 2021, 2022, we did that upskilling together with the department. And from that, we trained about 609 departmental officials. I think I must also mention, although I've not put it here in the website, what our companies are also doing, the Department of Public Works seconds their official to the ACPM corporate companies in order to be able to train them. That program has been done since 2014, before I even joined them, and it's still continuing. However, we cannot take many because there's also not a lot of projects. Now, this one is for the minister as well. This is a publication that was done by Nelson Mandela University by Dr. Gabundo, Prof. Brink, Prof. Mbanga, and Dr. Els, who is also now a professor. So when we were looking into this book, we looked at housing for all, but we actually just put all the what is this now? All the practitioners together, from your consultant, from the material to be used, from your housing developers, from your legal people. So this is a publication that is available at Van Skyke, and I was quite honored to have been asked by these authors to do the forward, which was a very good project. I must say, is one project that I enjoyed. This is available. This is one of the things for those that are within the human settlement. This is one of the books that you need to get your hands on, because I am telling you, it's going to help you so much, even from a planning space, even from how to utilize the material, the kind of material to be utilized. And then that book is available at Van Skyke. It's 667. I will post the link. And then upcoming sessions, I had to take this opportunity to advertise as well. As the ACPM, we are having a session on the 24th of August. I will post the link. We are talking leadership strategies for empowering women in construction. We will not be looking at the technical skills, but we are looking at leadership in general, what to do when you are in this leadership position, what is needed. And my passion, as Ravona has said, is how to pay it forward, which is what we are doing a lot. And if there's any people from SAWIC here, there is a SAWIC upcoming conference. These are the things that you need to join. Plug in so that you don't miss on anything. And then with that said, I will now give over to Emma. Emma, you can now take over to talk about the qualifications within the human settlement. It's only 3 slides and then we will be done. Thank you very much, Date Rakolote.
All right,
Emma,
thank
over
you.
to you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. I am in the dark. There's load shedding, so I can't switch off my video. And so I'm going to make it as brief as possible. All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Rakolete, for the, for just setting the tone on skills development. From our part as Nelson Mandela University, we offer various qualifications in the human settlement space. And I think the previous speakers highlighted some of the challenges that they're facing within the space. And I think our degrees and our short learning programs actually provide the necessary skills to solve some of these problems. So the first one is our Bachelor of Human Settlement Development. It is a 4-year qualification. It actually equips students or graduates to work in the human settlement space. They're able to work in housing development. They're able to implement human settlement policies, strategies, and able to work whether in the private or the public sectors. Now, the minimum requirement, firstly, there is an overall university minimum requirement, or minimum admission requirements rather, but for applicants who have the NSC high school, what do you call it, the degree of the certificate from high school. I think normally a mathematics or a technical maths with a score of 370 is a requirement. For candidates that or potential students that have a math literacy with a score of about 70 or so, they are, they can come in with the 385 NSC scoring. Now, we also have the RPL route. So for our experienced future potential students who have a work experience, you can, they can be assessed using that tool. So it's not necessary to have, if you don't have the matric certificate, we can actually just use or recognize your prior learning as an entry into the degree. We also have the masters in the Master of Human Settlement Development. Now, this one is pure research, and the the minimum requirement, of course, it's, you know, the bachelor's degree or an honors degree in a related field. The qualification is full-time 1 year, and or part-time, it can be finished over 2 years. So that is the master's program. And then we recently we recently launched a higher certificate in human settlement, but this particular one is very much specific to our colleagues in the human settlement space. So it's not for school leavers, it's not for matriculants that are coming out of school, but for our professionals in the human settlement space. Now, all of these qualifications, if you want information about them, I will leave my details. I'll also send details of the program coordinators for anyone who wants to reach out to us. I must also add that we have short learning programs. So for our contractors, or, you know, just people in the human settlement space who want to enhance their skills, but don't have the time to commit to a 1-year higher certificate or even for a degree, we have short learning programs that are run throughout the year. You're welcome to just reach out to us and, you know, find, you know, we can share details of these short learning programs. That's in a nutshell what we are offering at Nelson Mandela University. So the rest is just for me to leave our details in the chat box. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nomvula. Now I can take comments, questions from attendees. We'll start with 3 hands. Then from there, we'll take other 3 hands. Just a minute, let me do like this. Okay, we go with, please forgive me if I'm spelling your name wrongly, Yusuf, then Ntombi Koloti and Xoli Moagi. First, you go Yusuf, followed by Ntombi and Xoli, in that order.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Yusuf Pema. I'm the MMC for, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're audible.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Let me just take this opportunity to thank you for the invitation and, you know, thank the minister for taking the time out to come and address us. It really shows the level of dedication, and it's exactly what we need to move human settlement forward. Mine is just to appreciate all the presentations and just to ask, it would be great if we could have these presentations physically. It would also assist us in building what we want to achieve in our respective municipalities going forward. I thank you.
Thank you so much. All those who want this presentation to be emailed to them, please leave your email address in the chat box. We will definitely for sure facilitate that you get the presentation. Tombi?
Thank you very much, Facilitator Ntate Rakolote, and to the great presenters as we celebrate this Women's Month with a bang. I think those are the things that we really want to see in terms of women empowerment, especially in sectors where we still believe that there's massive transformation that must happen. Listening to the presentation, if possible, I wish to propose that they should find some, you know, provincial presentation, either provincial or interprovincial engagements, because these are valuable inputs and things that really needs to be taken into consideration in the broader agenda of human settlement development and women empowerment. This is very great, and I would also appreciate if we can receive presentations so that we can, you know, familiarize ourselves and be able to participate extensively.
Are you still there, Ntombi? Oh, I think she's gone. We've lost her. But Ntombi, what we'll do is that I'm not going to tell participants where you're coming from in terms of the province, but we'll reach out to you, Ntombi, to facilitate that we get to have this engagement at that provincial level within your province. I'll reach out to you so that we can organize this type of a presentation at the provincial level within your province. Oli?
Thank you so much, and good evening to all the audience. I would first like to appreciate this platform and the presence of the minister. However, that the facilitator, I'm a bit concerned about the level of a lot of engagement without the practical solution of all this engagement. I happen to have a background of being a leader in a lot of women organizations, especially in the construction. I'm currently the BBCBE CEO in the province. And my concern is one, yes, the presentations are good. We are well informed. They are nice. 2 weeks ago, we had an engagement with the deputy minister. And we were raising all these frustrations as women. And it is really frustrating as women celebrating Women's Month. And every year we are saying the same thing. It sounds as if we are not taking serious. It sounds as if the department does not believe in what we are doing. With all the presentations that we've had, with the knowledge and the experience that women have, and women are saying we are ready. We've got Bonomvula here who have empowered other women. We've got other women in provinces who have been empowered, but there are no opportunities. What I'll suggest is that even when you have the program or the skills program, please attach them, try to attach them to the programs, to the projects, so that as the women or emerging contractors or consultants, as you are trying to empower them, at least they have something to go out there and say, this was the skills development program, and this is what I've produced. I don't know if there are programs like this who are practical, because I can tell you now, we are going to come back next year and do the same exercise, which is sometimes tiring. You are talking to breadwinners here. You are talking to women who are single parents or single mothers. And it's very frustrating that every time we'll be singing the same song. At some point, I'm sure this platform should have been having more than 50 or 100 participants, but people are tired, Sediko. They are very tired of this. So I'm hoping that when you go back, you drive it to your to your colleagues or to the minister to say, Minister, for women, please, we are pleading. We are pleading. Please hear our voice. We want to participate. There is a very slow transformation. We don't know what is the core reason. What is the reason? Why are you not having confidence in us? Try us. We are ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toli. You are noted. Before I take Khoto, I'll allow panel members, if they want to comment on these submissions, to comment if they want to comment. Is there any comment that you want to bring, presenters?
Sure, Sediko.
Yes, Ravona, you can go.
I believe sometimes it is a long way, especially for women, to progress over time. But I must tell a colleague to say, colleague, don't, it's like, you know, the long walk to freedom, Mandela's book. We have to walk this path. That's where we start to learn about each other. And we can reach out to each other if we make this community. We can build a community from every workshop. I believe I also need to congratulate Nomvula. She's a professor now. I didn't even knew about, you know, I didn't know about that. But I'm so proud now to be associated with her, to say really now evidence, you know what, she has planted into me, the seed has grown with her. And I must say, let's take it chunk by chunk, small bits, and just believe that someday we can voice our challenges and frustrations so that the world can know we're out here. And I believe every platform created is worth it. Ravona was supposed to be on this Sunday night in this presentation, and I learned from all of you, even from the minister. I just learned about what she said about land acquisition and the transformation of cities, and now I can go out there and see where's opportunities for me. And I hope not to put you down, but I hope that knowing you, maybe we can also reach out to each other. And then in terms of our presentation for Nelson Mandela, I need to if through you, Sediko and Nomvula and Emma, that recognition of prior learning, we also find that given all these programs that's been developed, these official programs like NQFs and all that, but I'm a beneficiary of recognition of prior learning, and we should also not overlook that to say, I know that a lot of government people, they are afraid to register with the councils and all that, but we are saying, Nomvula also know, we are here to assist you guys. We are here to look at your credentials and assist you via maybe recognition of prior learning to get professional registration and certification. This is a platform that we can also share with our counterparts in the government to say, we're not looking forward also, we're also looking backwards to say, let's bring those are left behind to come forward and we move along. Thank you, Sediko.
Thank you so much.
Can I just add?
Yeah, you can go on.
Yeah. Xoli, I think I think it's Xoli that raised it. Xoli, I think maybe one of the most important things is that we never take stock of what we have achieved. Maybe the first place also to start is, it's not like all is lost or there's not much that has been done or it has been talk shows. How about we stop underselling ourselves and start to, as a consolidated effort, package the work that has been done. There's work that has been done by all other women. It doesn't have to be me specifically or Ravona specifically. I think we are short selling ourselves, not only as women, as South Africa as a whole. So maybe that would be the first place to start to say, so far, these have been the milestones. What are the challenges? What are the lessons learned? And how can we then, in going forward, enhance and make sure that we close the gaps of some of the things that we've realized as we were implementing. So let us also appreciate and also showcase the short wins, because in that way, we're showing our capability, we're showing that it has been done before, but it needs improvements, it needs enhancement. Thank you, Sediko.
Oh, thank you so much, Nomvula. Khotso Lesotho, you are next. Your input, questions, comment. Khotso?
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
You're audible, Khotso.
Thank you, Ntate Rakolode. I am Khotso Lesotho from Nelson Mandela University. I was captured by the presentation Ya Nomvula, and primarily on the slide that spoke about skills development. And there you highlighted a brief breakdown of the skills development that came to the QS and the construction management students, a program that ran from 2020, 21, and as well as 22, that enabled them to get their accreditation with their bodies through graduation and the skills development that they received. And you alluded to a very important point there where you said that the same program will be coming to human settlements. Now, my question then is, when will this be implemented and how soon will it begin to run? Because honestly, we are facing a situation where we are despairing students, even from first year level. This makes it very difficult for them to have the ambition of completing the degree itself. And this is very sad. So to ease the anxiety of students, I need those two questions to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khotso. Response in terms of the qualifications, NMU.
Okay. Khotso, I think what I mentioned, I said, this is what we have done in the construction, in the project and construction management. And the lessons that we shared in terms of the good stories, we are saying this is what can be replicated. Because remember now, from a point of the mandate, the ACPM cannot go as far as that from a mandatory point of view. I know that I did speak to Emma to ask and say which statutory body will eventually be responsible for the registration of the students that will be coming through human settlement. And initially I had thought it's the SACP-CMP. I think Emma is still here. She can then answer. And the question and then the engagement we further had was to say, from a voluntary association point of view, could it be something that the ACPM can look at? It is something that we can engage in, but if you look at the project management consulting firms, because they are responsible for the full value chain, I've seen one of my EXCO members is here, Mr. Ngosi. It could be something that we can look into. However, currently it is not into our scope. I was sharing the good example to say it's something that can be replicated. But let me also mention to say just yesterday, the ACPM together with the Nelson Mandela University and the Chartered Institute of Building, we actually hosted a symposium for the students to talk about the transition from university into the work, to say what are the things that can be expected and how can they then prepare themselves. So it's totally different from just a career day. So we were talking about the transition. So with what you've raised, I've taken that into note, but I have to say, currently it's not into our mandate, but it's not something that we cannot look into. From a partnership point of view, we would gladly embrace it as the ACPM.
Thank you so much. Mr. Matlala?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rakolote. My question is around, recently the Competition Commission has rejected the application which was brought forth by SACP-CMP, South African CP-CMP and EXA and others with regard to identification of engineering work. If you look at the registration of professionals, particularly in category of women, is very marginal. The answer. I just want to find out, don't you think, particularly to Mayor Nomvula Rakolote, don't you think that your organization and EXA were really upfront in trying to apply for this identification of engineering work? In this case, they were going to leave a whole lot of women outside of this engineering and construction project management fraternity. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Humphrey Matlala.
Thank you, Humphrey. I will take that, but I will try to summarize. The issue of the identification of work, has been a long one. And when you really look at it, it also came as a result of, the engineers, quantity surveyors, architects, and so on, they have been in existence even before, democracy. So when you look at the SACP-CMP, which is the construction project managers, they were only enacted, meaning from scratch, in the year 2000, but the others were just reenacted. So because they've always been the principal agent, the issue of overlaps have continued. But when you look at the idea of work, we really worked hard over years to look at the issue of the overlaps together with the Competition Commission. But that is an area that the Department of Public Works, together with the Council of the Built Environment, has been dealing with. And your question is, isn't it that maybe one of the factors that kind of block entry of women? The funny thing is, when I was doing accreditation of project and construction management qualification across 13 universities for over 10 years whilst I was at the SACP-CMP, I think Emma will also say that when you look at the throughput of graduates, there's more than enough women. But the issue is then there is that missing middle to say between graduating and transitioning into the workplace. There's a challenge there, simply because of also the regulation, which can also become a hindrance for fresh graduates, because sometimes they cannot get work because they are expected to register. But when you look at the registration requirement, it requires post-qualification relevant experience. So I don't know, is it where there's a hole, where there's that missing middle? Hence now the ACPM has now started these engagement sessions together with the universities. We actually had one yesterday on a Saturday where we look at that transitionary period. But as to whether the impact is directly the issue of the idea of work, I am not sure, but the issue of the overlap is still continuing. And I don't know, Sediko, maybe if you would allow, I see Mr. Isaac is here. Maybe you could then perhaps just also, I'll put you on the spot, Mr. Ngosi. You could perhaps also maybe just shed more light into the question asked by Umatlala, because he is the former chairperson of the CBE and president of the SACP-CNB. Mr. Ngosi, I don't know if you would like to maybe just further clarify on that one.
Yeah, while we are waiting for Mr. Nkosi, let's do like this. Let's take the last question from Monari. We are going to close in the next 2 minutes. We're supposed to stop at 7:30, but now we are 7:45. We'll take the last question. Then from there, we'll bring in Mr. Nkosi, and then we'll get closure. Monari?
Thanks, Sediko. This is just a follow-up to what Matala has asked in terms of the statutory bodies. We've got CIDB, né? And we've got EXA, and then also the SACP-MP as well. But all this, like I can say, all the voluntary bodies, each it's singing as different chorus, because they are not saying the same thing. You find that somebody else is in the built environment without a qualification or a proper certification in the built environment, and it has an impact in the overall of implementing projects. I'm saying this because we're managing projects. You find that some guy is a director of a particular company, but is on a grade 9. I'll say for that for admin, but he doesn't have any construction background as well. Be it a director, be a female or a male. But I'm just saying that we need a coordination between the CIDB and the whole built environment affiliations, so to say. Thanks.
So if I want to summarize what you are saying, Monar, is that you will find Sediko who doesn't have any qualification within your space, who's just a mere pastor now running a construction. And unlike in other fields, in medicine, you can't have a surgery if you're not registered and not qualified as a medical practitioner. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to give example using pastors. Thank you so much.
Sediko.
Yes, Ravona, you come first, then Ngos will come in, then we close.
Yeah, I think I can answer. That's exactly what I said when our lady from the Mandela University was talking. There's a gap that we have to follow. There's a gap that we have to look at recognition of prior learning. If somebody sits at CIDB level 9, it's not to say that person doesn't have qualifications. Qualifications can be defined in theoretical theory and your practical experience and other certifications. And the recognition of prior learning allows us to look into that, and then possibly there's some way that you can also engage with SAQA to put all your experience, your certifications and all that, because you need financial knowledge to do a project. You need other disciplines, essentials to do a a project. So recognition of prior learning will be the answer to that. And I've been assisting with CBE, just engaging with one of the coordinators there regarding CBE, recognition of prior learning. We have to start looking at recognition of prior learning so that we can close that gap of people, directors having companies, and they can't talk to professionalism within the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravona. Mr. Nkosi, you were put on the spot. He's not here. Can I request all men in the group?
Yes, there.
Can
He's
you
just
hear me?
unmuted. Yes.
Yeah, you can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, facilitator. Minister, good evening, and all protocol observed. I just want to address or respond to the issue of idea of work and the progression of women in the built environment professions. I think that's the understanding that I had in terms of the question that was asked earlier on. I just want to indicate that idea of work, the intention, if I may briefly explain, is to protect the public, to ensure that those that are practicing as professionals are properly registered and properly regulated by the various councils in the built environment, the 6 councils. I think it's very important for us to note that the public includes private developers, government departments that are developing infrastructure, human settlements, for instance, public works, and so on. Now, the progression of that's the intention of IDOW is not to exclude anyone from practicing as a professional. It's to ensure that the public is properly protected, that the professionals that are offering the services to the public are properly registered and regulated. That's the first thing. The progression of women in the industry cannot be looked at in isolation from what is happening in the broader economy, in the broader society. Now, that is not to say it is an excuse. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for progression of women. And I must say the councils and the professional councils and the respective voluntary associations have programs in place, working with institutions of higher learning, working with employers in the industry, working with government through the various departments to promote, amongst other things, the progression of women in the industry. Yes, the statistics are not looking good. And those statistics, as I said, I mean, a reflection of what is happening out there. But there are programs in place to progress women in the professions. Thank you, facilitator.
Any closing remarks, words from presenters? I start with you, Ravona.
Thanks, Sediko. I just want to say to the attendees, the meeting attendees, to say, I believe that as women and men, we all have, most of us as children, and if we look at our girl child, we need to overcome these challenges and barriers that we have in terms of promoting women in the industry. And I think what we need, sometimes we find there are fly-by-night personal development programs and all that, and too many things are happening out there, and these things are not coordinated so that we can effectively participate. If we have that coordination from our government departments, from someone who wants to start something decent, I think don't just ignore these platforms. accumulate knowledge and see how you can assist us so that we can promote women. Because I come back, way back 1992, I qualified as a electrician, electrician. I'm now installation electrician. I'm a technician. I'm actually doing forensic audits also, forensic investigations also. There is a way for us to grow, but we need government to come on board and strengthen the women empowerment programs. Thank you.
Leone?
Thanks, Sediko. For me, I would just like for, okay, I hear everything that everybody has been talking about, but at the end of the day, with school and everything, people want to work. We want to work, we want to go on site. And when we get there, we don't want, I mean, the frustrations that one encounters on site, it's something that we're supposed to get to a point where we overlook them, or it's supposed to be something of the past, or find a way how to maneuver and be able to deal with them precisely so that we are able to work and do what we are on site for. So I would say, I mean, I will just appreciate it if everything that has been said can be taken to the people who can be able to help us further. But as you did say that you would have a follow-up engagement with the minister, I'm looking forward to that so that we can get instant or something promising, because we are all talk, but the delivery is a bit stagnant. It does, I mean, it's not moving as, I mean, as fast as we are talking. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next engagement that we do have with the minister so that we can find a way forward, how we can try to help everybody who is suffering, especially all the women that are on site, who are not able to complete their projects due to the challenges that we raised this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deone. Novuna?
Thank you very much, Sediko. I think what I would say is that the most important thing is to know the space in which you operate, know the key stakeholders that you need to engage, do an honest evaluation of yourself and look at how you can upskill yourself. The world is changing, it's moving dynamically. In the next 10 years, there's things that we might not be able to do if we don't go with the technological advancements. And I would also say, look for mentors, look for sponsors, but most of all, we are experiencing the challenges and we do have an idea on how those can be addressed. And I think, as Ndihone has said, we need to raise them with the right people, but we need to know whether everything that we are raising with them falls within their mandate, or will it need a joint a partnership, whether it's between public and private, or whether it is across various departments. But the little that you can do to make your work easy, I think maybe look into that as well. There's always, I believe that there's always low-hanging fruits. And if you can start by that, count the pluses that you have, we go forward like that. I think for me, that's how I've survived in the construction industry, 15 years and still going.
Thank you so much, Emma.
All right, thank you so much. I think from my side, as the department in Nelson Mandela University, we will continue to engage with ACPM, especially in what Khutso raised, you know, the graduate placement, especially the ones in the human settlement space, because I believe they are the solution to some of the challenges that were highlighted by some of the speakers. And then the RPL, anyone that wants to, you know, develop themselves, we have programs, skills development programs, reach out to us. We are here to partner with you and assist you all the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, when we started, I indicated that we are from the Progressive Socio-Economic Investment Institute Trust. It is a trust that was established purely to run public benefit activities. It's not aligned to government or any other institution. We are two trustees. We established this trust to do public benefit activities. One of those activities is to host webinars. And the reason why we chose webinars is that to raise consciousness of people around various issues. So we chose this topic today because we have identified the challenges that women find within the construction sector. We have invited the minister, and unfortunately, they had other urgent engagements. And I, as promised, is that I will follow up with the minister, and all the things that you have raised, we'll raise it up with the minister. We will reach out to her office and to her that we must reschedule and have another session. But before I close, I want to request men who are in this platform, if you can, please switch on your camera. I'll switch on mine. If you can, please switch on your camera. All men who are in this group, if you can, please switch on your camera. To all men in the group, if you can, please switch on your camera. I'm trying to switch on mine, I'm struggling. Why is it so difficult for men to switch on their cameras?
Because you must give them a reason why.
Okay. I wanted you to say, and open up your microphones, please, men. Men who are here, open up your microphones. Now I can see it's difficult to switch on your camera on Sunday evening.
Master Ngozi.
Just open your microphone. In a count of 3, we'll all say Happy Women's Month. 1, 2, 3.
Happy Women's Month.
Happy Women's Month.
Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening, colleagues. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much.